Well, it finally happened. No matter how many times we tried to stop the accident, somebody got seriously hurt on the job. In this video, I want to walk you through an example of what to do if somebody gets hurt on the job and you have to report it to OSHA. I'm going to walk you through when you have to report to OSHA, what you have to report to OSHA, how you have to report to OSHA, and exactly what you can expect over the next week when you do report a serious accident to OSHA. Buckle up, take some notes. Let's dive in. Well, hey friend, my name is David Sawyer. I'm a safety coach. In this video, I want to walk you through exactly what you need to do as a safety manager if somebody gets hurt on the job and it meets the requirements of reporting it to OSHA immediately. All right, so let's walk through this scenario. If somebody gets seriously hurt on the job, you have to report it to OSHA. And here's the criteria. So you might want to take notes, but number one, if it is a fatality, if somebody gets killed on the job, you must report it to OSHA within 8 hours. Now, God forbid that ever happens, but the timeline is 8 hours that you have to report that to OSHA. Now, the other cases that are more common is if you have an employee that suffers an amputation. If they lose a finger, part of a finger, if they lose any part of their body, if there is an amputation, you must report it to OSHA within 24 hours. If there is a loss of an eye, if there's an eye injury that results in some employee losing their eye, you must report it within 24 hours. And lastly, if the employee is hospitalized, if there is a hospitalization, then you must report it to OSHA within 24 hours. So just to clarify that, if there's a fatality on the job, you have to report it to OSHA within 8 hours. If there is the loss of an eye, an amputation, or a hospitalization, you must report it within 24 hours. Now, let me unpack those a little bit because here's where the minutia, here's where the details kind of get in the way, and I want to clarify it. If an employee goes to the emergency room, that's not necessarily a hospitalization. I would encourage you to look up the definition that OSHA has for hospitalization because they have to be admitted to the hospital. Typically, this means they are in the hospital overnight. So if they are airlifted off your site and go to a hospital and spend the night there, that's going to be a hospitalization. If there is an ambulance that takes them to the hospital and they get admitted to the hospital, that will qualify as a hospitalization. So those are some things to keep in mind. You have to have good contact with the employee, with the hospital, with the medical staff, making sure you understand, have they been admitted, right? Sometimes it gets passed off from safety to HR. We want good communication so we know when that happens because we have to report it within 24 hours. Now, if there's an amputation, it doesn't have to be the loss of a bone, meaning if somebody cut the tip of their finger off, it can be an amputation. Oftentimes that gets decided by the doctor, not by the employee or by you, the safety manager. So you need to know the terminology, understand what does OSHA define as an amputation, and make sure that you note if it is an amputation, it has to be reported to OSHA within 24 hours. All right, so step number 2, how do you report it? Well, there's 3 ways. The most common way is you simply call OSHA. You call your nearest OSHA office. If you have a state program, you can go on their state website. If you're under the federal program, you can go on the OSHA.gov website and you can report it online on a reporting form online. So that's the second most common. The number 1 most common is giving a phone call. The second most common is that you are going to submit an online form. And then the third most common is you're going to visit the OSHA office. I'll be honest, I've never had anybody do that. I think they just kind of stick it in there, but you're not going to have to worry about that. So typically you're going to make a phone call and report it, or you're going to submit an online form. Now, I will tell you the best prevention that you can do after the accident happens is to make your job easier as a safety manager is make sure you have the accident report filled out. Now, 24 hours is fast. 8 hours is even faster. But you need to have an idea of what happened. So do not call OSHA. Do not report the accident until you have a fairly good idea of what happened and you have some documentation in your hand. So you'd like to have an accident report from the employee and from the supervisor. At a minimum from the supervisor, you might want to know what the security cameras were showing. You might want to have an idea of what happened. You weren't there, right? 99.9% of the time, safety manager isn't there when somebody gets hurt. So we want to have a good idea, a grasp of the facts of what happened so that we can be ready. We're going to fill out the form, and the form is going to ask some really simple questions. If you fill out the online application or if you talk to somebody, you're going to have to say who got injured, knowing their name. That's critical. Knowing what department they were in, knowing what the nature of the accident was. Right? Was this a forklift accident? Was this an electrical accident? Was it something where they slipped and hit their head? We want to know the nature of the accident. We want to know where it happened, what time it happened. So these are going to be the facts. You think about that old show, Dragnet, where the guy was like, hey, just the facts, ma'am. We need just the facts of what happened. So step one, know when to report, right? 8 hours for a fatality, 24 hours for loss of an eye, an amputation, or a hospitalization must be reported within 24 hours. And then how to report. I can call the OSHA office or I can submit an online form. I could go there in person if I really wanted to. And the last is be ready after you've done this. You've reached out. You've told them what happened. You've reported it. You are going to be contacted by OSHA typically within 24 hours. Most of the time, it's by the end of the day. So if you report it at 10 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get a phone call sometime at the end of the day, and they're going to ask questions about the nature of the hazard, the accident, the employee's health, what happened. That's where you want to know that you've got information. So when you answer the phone call, when you correspond with OSHA, take notes. Take notes on a notepad. If you have photos of what happened, you want to have those. If you have witness statements of what happened, you want to have those. Now, here's what's going to happen after that. So after you talk with OSHA, the most normal thing to happen, the most common thing to happen after you talk to OSHA is they're going to say, okay, we're going to send you a letter in the mail, and it's called a Rapid Response Investigation, an RRI letter. And they're going to have a letter that goes out to you, and it's going to request written evidence and corrective actions for what happened. So essentially, this is your accident investigation, and you're going to want to be able to have all your information organized so you can send them that information as quick as possible. So typically they'll give you a week or two to fill it out and to send it in, but you want to do it as quick as possible. The faster you do it, the better it is for everybody. Now, the other option, and this could happen depending on what the nature of the accident was. If it's a fatality, I guarantee they're coming out, okay? But the second option is you're going to have an on-site OSHA investigation. So they will come out, they'll do an audit on-site, they'll review the scene, they'll interview employees, they'll look at training procedures, they'll look at written programs, they'll look at all the information that surrounds this accident that caused this hospitalization or loss of an eye or amputation or, God forbid, a fatality. So those are the two things that'll happen. Either they come and do an on-site inspection, or they send you a letter and they expect you to send them information back surrounding this accident. Now, after the letter, after you filled out all the information, that's when they're going to contact you and they're going to say, looks good, or we need more information. So you're going to want to prove that the hazards that you corrected, you actually fixed them. So taking pictures is super important. They want to verify that that hazard has been fixed, corrected, and that you can close the case. Now, this matters because if you do not report an accident within the time frame, if you're trying to keep something secret, or if you just didn't know you were supposed to report something to OSHA, then you can get a citation that's pretty substantial. So the reason they do this is they want to know what's going on. They want to be able to understand the statistics. They want to be able to understand where accidents are happening in industry. And so it is crucial that as a safety manager, you know what accidents happen, when they happen, that they will be reported properly. This kind of feeds over into your accident reporting procedures so that supervisors, people on night shift, people working on the weekends, they know what the policy is. So your homework, make sure your accident reporting procedures are up to snuff. Make sure that every shift knows what to do. Make sure there's a really simple step-by-step method so that you get notified if somebody gets hurt on the job and it's at the level of reporting it to OSHA. I hope this video has been helpful for you. You can go on my website, helpwithosha.com, and you can download a checklist, an OSHA audit checklist that will help you prepare your company for an unexpected OSHA audit. This is a perfect example of when OSHA would come in and do an unexpected OSHA audit because you didn't expect the person to get hurt, and then who knows, OSHA shows up the next day on site, and you're like, oh man, not only do we have this accident, but now we have an OSHA inspection on top of it. So go to my website. It's a free checklist. You can access my OSHA audit checklist, and you can download that today. Along with that, on the top right-hand corner, I've got access to a workshop that I call my master class. And if you click on that, you can actually watch my master class where I walk you through a systematic approach to managing safety. I hope you found this helpful. Check out my website, access the free OSHA audit checklist. And until we talk again, do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe because no one should get hurt at work.